how do we get our children to do what we want them to do? This is something we would love to explore today together. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Elfie. Yes. So how do we get our children to do what we want them to do? Well, we don't. What
do we do?
Yeah, what do we do? We explore things together as families. So that's what we do.
Yeah, we explore what we want together as a family, and we don't see our children as the only ones responsible for things, and we don't see ourselves as the only ones responsible for the things, but we see all of us together responsible for achieving whatever we want to achieve. And two stories we would love to share are stories about how do we get our children to clean up their plates after lunch or breakfast or dinner, and how can we also invite them to share what works in our family life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to share a story with you about a conversation that we had as a family around the dinner table. And it came from a conversation that myself and my husband were having. I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. And it was thinking, it feels like maybe we're just always talking to the children about things that need to be done. And maybe it's, feel like the conversation isn't always very positive. So we were thinking, what could we do differently? So we were like, well, we'll ask the children. So sat around the dinner table last night and we invited this conversation and said to both our children, told them, how we had started to talk about this and that we wanted to include them in the conversation, and said, what could we do differently? What could we do better as parents that would really help and improve our communication as a family? And quite to our surprise, both of them said nothing. Actually, what you do already works. Okay, so please tell us more. What are we doing that's working? And they both said, well, Finn said first, our son said first, you don't shout at us. That makes a real difference to us that you don't shout. And also, our daughter was, in agreement, and wonderful to watch them, how they interacted and agreed with each other about these things as well. And then they said that if there are some difficult conversations that need to be had, that it's dealt with, and then that's it, conversation ended. You don't keep going. You don't keep repeating something that you're not very happy about. We were sat there, I'm like so pleased that we involved them in this and that we asked them this question. So we were like, winning at parenting.
Oh, I love this story. This just really highlights the value of asking. And, I think that happens so often that we as parents think, how can we do something better? Or sometimes we would maybe even think we fail in some way, even though failure, that's a whole different topic, doesn't really exist in our world anymore. But and instead just asking and then getting such nice responses. Isn't that cool? I mean, and this reminds me of a story that we just recently actually experienced with our 6-year-old daughter, and talking about how do we get her to do what we want. That was the first approach we kind of took. So we wanted her to clean up her plate after breakfast, dinner, lunch, and we asked her to do that. And she would do it more or less happy, or she wouldn't do it. And so we are not really good into getting into fights. So, well, okay, we took it and we just did it, but it left like a sense of, no, there has to be a better way of doing it. So we asked her, we kept asking, and then whenever she took her plate and put it away, we would thank her for doing that. And we would just amplify that also with sharing the difference it makes for us. So I would say, thank you, Bibi, for taking your plate away. That really makes a difference for me, because I feel myself heard when you do that. You hear what's important to me and you do it. Or I would just say, thank you, that's so cool that you do it, because that really spares me some time, and the table is clean, and that makes me really happy. So that really makes me happy. So easy. And yet we noticed, hey, well, it sometimes would work, it sometimes wouldn't work. And yeah, and then the question was, okay, how, well, there has to be a different way of approaching that. And Dominic and I, my partner and I, in our conversation, we said, okay, let's discuss this as a family. Let's have a dialogue about how we want things to have. And we started at dinner, I think, to have this conversation with our daughter and the two of us. And we were saying, okay, when we finish it, how do we want our apartment to look like? And and how do we want to organize that? So, and well, and who wants to do what? And it was so cool to see that in this conversation, our daughter wasn't saying, you do it. She wanted to be a part of it. And she wanted to have, you know, to take responsibility for something as well. She actually even started to write down who does what and make a fixed plan, which was for me like, please don't do that. But, you know, it was like really, she engaged so beautifully in this conversation, and that made a real difference. And we, at the end of our conversation, we decided to keep this conversation going. And we did that for a few days very deliberately, that we would always, after breakfast, dinner, lunch, dinner, ask, well, who does what now? And yeah, just to think about it. And then everyone did part of the cleaning. And now we don't talk about it anymore, but our daughter puts away her plate every day. And I think this is not a coincidence or something. No. This is a result of our conversations we've had.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, just, you know, in that story, highlighting what's possible when we open up a dialogue with our children in this explorative way, that we include them and that we ask them, you know, how powerful, and at all ages, you know, with your 6-year-old Bibi and my 13 and 15-year-old Phil and Phoebe, you know, that it's just, and what I really love, I love so much in your story is when you said sort of in the beginning about thanking.
Yeah.
You know, taking time to thank our children and amplifying the difference that it makes to us, the things that they do. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So Tara and I are super curious to hear from you and to hear your stories. What's working for you, and how do you do that? And yes, if you want to learn more, we are super excited to soon be launching our Blossoming Family online course, where we will explore things like that, and you will get lots of resources from Tara and myself, and you will have lots of stories from other families.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So have a wonderful week, everyone, and bye.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.